Hello, friends. It's been a while since I've posted, like a month, and that's mostly due to me being sick. I'm not really sure what's going on with me. For a while, like 2 weeks, every single day in the afternoon, I was becoming so fatigued and exhausted. Like between 3 p.m. and 7, I like couldn't do anything. I would just like have to lay down because I just felt so sick. I've also been getting like a lot of headaches, and even right now, my voice hurts when I talk. It doesn't just, my throat doesn't hurt when I'm not talking, just when I'm talking. So I've been dealing with that for like the last 3 to 4 weeks, which is why I haven't posted anything. I've been wanting to, because I know when I stop doing something, it's really hard for me to get back into it. But I have been encouraged as of recently due to some books I've been reading. And so I wanted to get right back into it. And here I am. I probably should go to the doctor, but if you know me, you know that's not going to happen. I'm not going to go to the doctor. My AC just turned on because it's kind of warm outside today. So hopefully, if you hear it, you don't actually hear it, and I was able to fix it in post. So this video is going to be a little different than my last two videos. My last two videos, if you haven't seen my other ones, are more like commentary on just like certain topics. Wanted to kind of, I still want to do those types of topics, obviously, and videos, but I do want to do more review style or recommendation style videos on this channel as well. So I don't know if you're here for that and if you want to stay for that, but that's what makes me happy, so I'm just going to do it. Because I want to get more into like more personal opinion stuff rather than more research-based things. Like I just want to talk from my heart. I do have like an outline, but I want to talk from my heart in this video. So editing me might hate me right now. We'll see. Hopefully this video turns out good because I do not want to record it twice. From the title, you obviously know that I'm going to be recommending some horror novels. First, as just a pre-warning, I'm going to let you know that I typically stray from reading, watching anything of what I would put in the category of spiritistic or like more supernatural. So things like ghosts, demons, spirits, witches. I don't pick up those kinds of books. That's just not what I like. I don't touch that stuff. It freaks me out. I'm not going to do it. So if you're looking for those kind of recommendations, I'm not going to be the person to come to for that. But I do have one book on this list that I would push into that category. So I do have a recommendation for you. Just not like, that's not all of what I'm doing. Generally, my favorite kinds of horror are what I would call creature features, especially when I'm watching a movie. I love monster movies. I've also recently discovered that I like reading those stories as well. I do want to do a video where I talk about my favorite horror slash monster movies. So stay tuned for that if you are interested in new recommendations to watch. But here, I'm going to give you stuff to read. I'm going to go in order of when I read these books, not what I would recommend first or last or whatever. Like, I would recommend all of these pretty equally. So the first book, and now stay with me. I know it may turn you off, but you gotta listen, you gotta hear me out, okay? The first book I'm gonna recommend is Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. You wouldn't typically find this book in the horror category. You would typically see it in sci-fi. And I always think it's because of how the movies are that people would say this isn't horror because it's more like action, adventure, stuff like that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. I am a huge Jurassic Park fan in general of the whole entire franchise. It's been years since I've read the novel, but it is still what I would call my favorite book of all time. This is more of what I would call a technical sci-fi horror because Michael Crichton loves to explain the science and stuff to us. So that's that part of the book I'm not super into just because I didn't pick up the book to learn science. I picked it up for, other reasons. So if that stuff's hard to get through, you can always read over stuff. If there's something in a book that you don't like, you can always like skim over it. If you really are like, I just don't care about this, I don't always recommend doing that. There's a fly in here. Okay. There's an episode of Breaking Bad. It's called The Fly or something, and he's terrorized by a fly. Just the entire episode, 40 minutes or whatever. It's just him and this fly trying to kill it. And that's been my life for the last 3 days. Because yesterday, there was a fly. Where did I go yesterday? At the library that was bothering me. There was a fly at dinner that was bothering me. And then there was a fly at home that was bothering me. and now there's a fly. It might still be the same fly as yesterday. I hate flies. Passion. They don't freak me out. They're just like, they're so annoying. They land on my head all the time. And I have a video that my husband did last week with his friend. And he had to pause because the fly kept landing on his head and we could not kill that thing. So, just in case you are young or have been living under a rock, I'm going to give a quick synopsis of Jurassic Park. The novel was published November 20th, 1990. So when a wealthy industrialist creates a theme park with genetically engineered dinosaurs on an island, a power outage leads to the creatures escaping their enclosures and wreaking havoc on the visitors and employees there. So the horror of Jurassic Park stems from what I would call a scientific overreach. Humans who are driven by greed and arrogance tamper with forces beyond their control. And in this case, that control would be cloning dinosaurs. The fear comes not just from the creatures themselves and what they are doing, but from the loss of control and the inevitable consequences of playing God. Which, if you've watched the movie, that's pretty much what the movie is also about. The author doesn't present the dinosaurs as majestic creatures. There are, like, in the beginning, especially when they see the dinosaurs for the first time, that's how they're portrayed. But he quickly writes them off as predators. They stalk, hunt, and kill with an intelligence and terrifying precision. The raptors, especially, evoke a slasher-style horror. They're very cunning, they break into locked rooms, and they hunt in packs. There's no escaping them on this island. The setting of the story is on an island and is a classic horror trap. They are in a fairly confined space, they're cut off from any help, and when everything goes wrong, there's no escape. There's no higher authority to call, no military cavalry that's coming to save you at the end. That sense of entrapment amplifies the fear, much like being stuck in a haunted house or other survival horror stories. The author also doesn't shy away from describing the gory consequences of science gone wrong. Characters are torn apart, devoured, and hunted in very chilling detail. The kills are gruesome, showing how fragile humans are against the monsters that they've created. Jurassic Park is horror disguised as science fiction. It is a cautionary tale about creation, chaos, and the monsters born from human ambitions. It's not just about dinosaurs eating people and people running away from dinosaurs. It's about what happens when people try to control life itself and when life decides to fight back. So that is my number one recommendation. I won't talk too much more about it, but I will move along. My second recommendation is going to be The Only Good Indians by, I think it's Stephen Graham Jones. This is a novel that I would put into the more supernatural, spiritistic horror category, which is the kind that I would generally shy away from. I won't go into the details of why, it doesn't matter. It's just my preference. This book definitely made me uneasy and made me irrationally afraid of elks, I believe. Yeah, it was elks for a very short period of time. And if you read, you'll know why. I didn't know what it was about. I just picked it up at a fan expo a couple years ago, and I'm pretty sure I started reading it without knowing anything about it. The Only Good Indians is the kind of horror that sticks with you. It's not about jump scares or gore, though it has both of those. It is about the kind of dread that builds from guilt, from memories, and the feeling that something you did years ago is coming back to haunt you. What makes it so terrifying for me is that the horror feels personal and inevitable. These men did something cruel when they were younger, and the story shows how that one act just festers until revenge takes place. Years later, it turns into a supernatural revenge that's just as much as what they owe as what they fear. It's not a random monster, like most horror novels are. It's a reflection of what they took and what they killed. The book mixes real, grounded life. You have situations where you talk about friendships and marriages and just cute family moments. And it mixes with scenes that feel straight out of a nightmare. The scary part of this is how easily the author slides between the two kinds of scenes. One minute, everything is feeling normal, and the next, you are right in the middle of something that is brutal and very surreal. The elk woman isn't just a monster. She is grief and revenge and justice all tangled together. That's what makes this horror work very well, in my opinion. You can't fight it off. You can't escape it. It's tied to who these characters are and what they have done. Yes, it is horror, but it's also not the kind that makes you want to scream, like when you're watching a horror movie. It's just the kind that makes you sit there afterward and think about guilt and culture and identity and how some things you do never really stop haunting you. Which personally, I feel like everybody can think of something they have done or not done in their past that has just followed them through their life. And so I was able to connect to it on that aspect. My foot is falling asleep. My next recommendation is going to be The Troop by Nick Cutter. This is one of my all-time favorites. All of these have become basically my favorites, at least a little bit. I read it at some point late last year, and it made my stomach twist literally every single chapter. I was like queasy, ooh. This is more of a body horror, and it is relentless in that. The premise of it sounds very simple. It is a group of Boy Scouts or Boy Scouts adjacent type of group, and their scoutmaster who head to a remote island for a weekend camping trip. But things go downhill fast when a very ill stranger stumbles into their camp and is carrying a horrifying parasite. Yes, a parasite. This book isn't disturbing just because of the gore, which, trust me, there is plenty, as I noted. It's just how quickly things unravel. The friendships, their morals, their humanity. You're watching these kids who should be having fun, being safe, being innocent, falling apart both physically and psychologically. The author doesn't pull any of his punches because every page makes you feel trapped on that island with them. Hungry, terrified, and unsure of who's just going to make it out alive. It gets under your skin, both literally and emotionally, because I could not stop picturing a parasite inside of me the whole time I was reading it. The infection scenes are very grotesque, and the real horror comes from how people change when they're scared and desperate. By the end, it's not just about surviving the monster, it's about what's left of you after the worst of it has happened. Also, the ending of this book, it's just one of those, like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, it's just like one of those endings. I love those kinds of endings. Because I don't like a bad ending, and I don't like a super happy ending either. Like, I like to feel like in dread of the situation. So I appreciated that. This book is what I feel like everybody calls like Lord of the Flies with parasites. And yeah, I would recommend that. If you're not into body gore, do not read that because you will be like feeling like worms are inside of you forever. My next recommendation is my most recent read, and I would say, once again, one of my new favorites. It is called When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, and it came out in April of this year, 2025. I picked this book up. I don't know why I picked this book up. I don't feel like the name or the cover really stuck out to me. I was just looking for something, and there's a wolf on the front, like a werewolf-looking creature, so I was like, well, it has to be a werewolf in the book, like it wouldn't not be. Yeah, I just picked it up at the library and took it home, and I read it in 24 hours, which is not something I have done in like 10 years. I was very happy how fast I got through that. When the Wolf Comes Home is a book about a struggling actress who finds a young boy hiding outside of her apartment. She brings him inside to help him. But when his angry father shows up, absolute horror and chaos and bloodshed ensues. What I love about this book is how quickly it shifts from something that feels more grounded in real life into something just like completely unhinged. It starts like a tense domestic thriller, but then grows darker and stranger with every single chapter. Literally every chapter ends with just like, what? What? Like, it just keeps going. The author has what I would consider a good way of mixing psychological horror with like I wouldn't fully say supernatural, but it feels like supernatural dread, and the result is unsettling. The pacing is also wild in this book, okay? It is unpredictable and predictable, both in like a really good way. One moment you're sitting with the characters and feeling what they're feeling and what they're going through, and then the next you're hit with something really disturbing, like crazy happens, and yeah, it's just one of those books where you just keep thinking it can't get worse than this, and then it does. Keeps getting worse. Underneath all of that madness, there is a sharp emotional core about guilt and identity and how our past follows us no matter how much we try to reinvent ourselves. Much like The Only Good Indians. Very similar to that in that aspect. When I picked up this book, I did think it was one thing. I thought it was about a werewolf. An angry daddy werewolf. That's what I thought this was about. But then about a third of the way in, it shifts. At first, I didn't like it. At first, I did not like the shift. I was like, that's not where I wanted this to go. But I kept reading, and the author really brings all the details together in ways I did not expect, and I really did appreciate. So I'm really glad I kept reading. I know that fact alone, that opinion might turn somebody off from reading this, but I would recommend it. Like, there's still a werewolf in it the entire time. It's not like it just totally changed the story. It's the same story, same characters, but there's just the twists start coming in. And I was like, why is there a twist a third of the way into the book? Is that the only twist? And it wasn't. It was not the only twist. So that made me happy. Like I mentioned, I did finish this book in about 24 hours. I think I did that. I don't know. when the last time I read a book. Sorry, my foot is falling asleep. It is full asleep. Holy crap. I think I was a teenager and I read a book. I can't even feel my foot on the floor. Oh my gosh. When I was a teenager, I read a book in like one sitting, like over 8 hours. I just like literally brought it home and sat down and read the whole thing. That was a smaller book than this. And there were also things that I did see coming, like I knew it was going to happen and then it did happen, but the way that the author, the other things that he added in to those elements, those surprised me. And so it was like, that's why what I meant by my foot is so asleep, it hurts right now. I don't know, I think I have to let it pass. Otherwise, I'm just gonna look like I'm in so much pain. I don't even know what I was saying. That's why I said it was predictable and not predictable. That's why. Also, this book actually made me cry. I don't remember if the truth made me cry at the end. I feel like I was just like in shock with the ending, even though I kind of saw it coming. But with this book, yes, I did see it coming, but I still got like very connected to some of the characters. So just the ending just made me very sad for them, and I was crying. I was just like sobbing out here on the couch by myself reading this book. When I told my husband that it made me cry, he just kind of like laughed at me. He's like, "I told you that was gonna happen." I was like, "I know." It made me sad. So reading this book really made me realize that I think this is a genre for me. I've been really struggling between sci-fi and fantasy because I like so much of both of them. I was just trying to figure out which one was my favorite, which made reading easier for me. And I found good books in both categories, but nothing like I can't just pick up any of the books and just like I always found myself putting a lot of the stories back and returning them because I just like was not interested. So yeah, I think I didn't know if it's gonna be my niche with like horror, but it's up there. It's gonna be like number one for me. So I don't know how people are gonna like that, but I don't care because that is my liking. I'm starting to like get drained. This fly keeps going right in front of the camera. He's just going all around the camera. All around there's two of them. It is October 22nd and it has been cold outside. So I do not understand why there are flies in my house. So after I read this book, obviously I was like I wanted to read another book. So I found a few reads at my library that I grabbed. I also have some things that are coming in on hold. Yesterday, however, I picked up a book called Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison. And I'm already halfway through it. Like literally in one day I was over halfway through. It is what I would call a comedic horror. There's like a lot of very serious elements, but it's funny. Like I don't know if it's like laugh out loud funny for me, but I'm enjoying it. So it's about a woman who gets attacked by a werewolf, and she just is dealing with the process of her becoming one as well. While she's dealing with family issues and romantic issues, things like that. I have been greatly entertained so far, so I'm going to keep reading it. I don't know if I fully recommend this book just because I haven't finished, I haven't gotten to the end. But if you're looking for something that is more humorous, just to break up very serious elements, then I would lean more towards this. The only thing that like annoys me, and this is every book, when there's a lot of more modern references to things, like the main character vapes, and every time she doesn't do it a lot. Like I think twice it's been mentioned so far where she like has a vape, and I'm just like seriously, I don't know why that bothers me, but it's just like things like that where I'm like, oh my gosh. But that's what's so great about reading and books and media and stories is you have different characters who do different things and go through different things, and that's why we all can be entertained all the time because there's so many different things you can do, so many ways to mix it up. That's all I have for today. I don't know if you noticed, I really struggle looking into the camera because I'm just like looking at this black dot. So this is what it's like to have a conversation with me in real life. Is I'm never looking at you. I'm always like looking off to the side or looking above you. Like I'm never looking directly at you. So I understand for some people that's annoying. That's just who I am. That's part of why I wanted to start doing videos again because I do want to work on that. I want to work on my skills, my speaking skills. I know I say like a lot. I know I say a lot. I get it. I know. I use a lot of filler words. I'm working on it. Okay, I'm working on it. I really hope this video made you want to pick up one of these novels. And if you have already read one of these, obviously I want to have a discussion about it. I'd like to know your opinion. So leave me your review or a link to your review so I can read it. I'm also looking for more recommendations on like monster or like science experiment gone wrong type of books. So please recommend those to me as well if you know anything. Again, don't go towards like ghosts and spirits and demons. That's not my thing. Yeah, I'm sure I made that clear. I've also over the last year I've watched a ton of like monster movies. So I also want to make a video on like just like a quick like this is what I've watched and like what my favorites are. I don't know. I don't know what kind. I don't know if I want to like have a series about it or where I talk about one for each video. So let me know your thoughts on that as well, what you'd be interested in watching. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye.
October 13th, and Africa flies killing me.
Well, you're certainly lightening the mood.
I'm gonna kill myself.
You should keep this in. It's so good.
It's like that episode of Breaking Bad. It's a whole episode of freaking Walt. What's that guy's name?
You're done.
What's Walt's name? Bryan Cranston just freaking out over a fly in his lab.